Hello everyone, my name is Alain Fayolle. I would like to talk today about a very important topic, starting a new business. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm professor at the LYON Business School, one of the best business schools in Europe. Its baseline is educating entrepreneurs for the world, so it's a big baseline, and it raises hopes for a lot of people living the intention to start a new business. I'm also the director of the Entrepreneurship Research Center, and I was and am still a visiting professor in different universities. My contents turn around first the conceptualization of new venture creation process. What is my view about new venture creation process? And then I would like to develop ideas, concepts around three phases which are really important in starting a new business: training, commitment, survival, development, and finally growth. I will end my talk by giving a short conclusion. First, what's my conceptualization of new venture creation process and my conceptualization of entrepreneurship, because the two things are strongly linked. Entrepreneurship is conceptualized, in my view, as a dialogue between an individual and what she is or he is doing when creating new value. Dialogic means we have two logics in the process, those of the individual and those of the new value creation impacting an environment. It means that this relationship brings big changes for both individual and environment, and it's really an important point. You will develop much more later. We can see the new venture creation process through this graphic. We have here the different and very important dimensions, which are environment, individual, her or his project, and the process. Process, project, it means organization, individual, environment. We have here the four key dimensions in entrepreneurship. What is the main logic of the process? Because the process is something dynamics, but we have to be aware about what is the engine of this dynamics. In my view, it comes from the goals, the objective of the individuals. These goals and objectives act as a very strong engine in the entrepreneurial process. Individuals have a vision of what they want, what they expect in acting as entrepreneur. That's the first point. Also, I would like to emphasize the importance of a key concept, which is the perceived instantaneous strategy configuration. I will explain what this concept is. In my idea, entrepreneurial projects, entrepreneurial idea appear and evolve in this perceived instantaneous strategy configuration, and mainly in what I call the coherence zone. This graphic allows us to probably get a better understanding of this perceived instantaneous strategic configuration. In fact, it's at the crossroads of three sets of perceptions. Perceptions about aspirations. Individuals have aspirations for their private life, for their working life, and they are really important in making sense, in driving the entrepreneurial process. Perceptions are also on the resource and the skills individual perceive they have, they own, and they can use in every situation. And finally, perceptions concern the environment, the opportunities, threats, the possibilities to do something, etc. And the coherence zone is really at the crossroads of these three sets of perception. It's in the mind of individuals because I'm talking of different perceptions. And these perceptions are influenced by personal life, environment, value system, things like that. So you can see here that talking about starting a new business is mainly talking about an individual that she is or he is as in mind, in brain, in the guts, things like that. There are three phases which are really important through which the entrepreneurial system evolves. First is the trigger phase, and then commitment, and finally survival, development, and growth phase. Starting with the trigger phase, you have to know that before to start a new business, individuals may have a job or are unemployed, but not really the idea to create a new firm in mind. What happens really? First, they perceived a desire to create a firm, to become an entrepreneur, and also the possibility to do this. Entrepreneurship and starting a new business relates to the desirability and the feasibility of the event. And also they are in this coherence zone of the perceived instantaneous strategic configuration, big tensions, insatisfactions, issues, contradictions, things like that. And finally, individuals have sometimes some availability, intellectual, psychological, material availability to work on an idea or an emerging project. We are talking here about the conditions to triggering starting a new business. What are the main influences which can change perceptions in individual mind? They come from family. Sometimes individuals have strong influences from family because mother or father are entrepreneurs or have been entrepreneurs. They come from education, experience, social, cultural norms in a given region or country, etc. So all these things can move people from indifference, paying no attention to entrepreneurship, to developing an intention. Intention is a key concept of starting a new business because I'm sure and fully convinced that we cannot do anything if we have not a strong intention in doing and succeeding in this way. The second phase, which is probably much more important than the first one, because a lot of people can trigger an entrepreneurial process, starting a new firm, but very few go to the next step, which is commitment. Commitment to the entrepreneurial process, commitment to starting or his new firm. It means spending time, spending money, spending energy to do things and to try to achieve the objective. Commitment is a psychological notion. In my view, it's understudied probably in entrepreneurship, underestimated, but surely it plays a key role. We can define commitment in different ways, as you can imagine, and I just quoted two people stating that commitment is decision that directly influence future behaviors. Commitment is in relation to behavior, is in relation to starting a business in our case. And commitment is also seen in the following sentence. It's that binds individual to his or behavioral acts. My definition of entrepreneurial commitment, because as I told you, I started with psychological views of commitment, trying to apply them in the field of entrepreneurship, looking at starting a new business. I define entrepreneurial commitment as a moment when the individual starts devoting most of his or her time, energy and financial, intellectual, relational, and emotional resources to his or her project. Two conditions are really important to be committed to starting a new business. First, the act of venture creation is favored and perceived as feasible, and then, probably most important, resistance to change must be overcome. It means that in the mind of individuals, when they trigger an entrepreneurial process, starting to think about from a new idea, trying to start a business, they have different professional ways. We could think to start a business, but also to find a good job, or to find again a good job based on the competencies we acquired through education or experience, things like that. And so it's a decision based on opportunity cost. What is the most interesting option for me at a certain time? So we can see commitment very close to entrepreneurial decision, and I agree with his view. So commitment again is really important, and starting a new business should be seen as the most attractive way at a certain time, always in this coherence zone of the perceived instantaneous strategic configuration, the most attractive way compared to others, and mainly compared to finding a new job, probably well paid, with social advantages, things like that. I would like to talk a little bit more about resistance to change. For me, entrepreneurship relates much more to resistance to change than to risks. What does it mean, resistance to change, or what kind of resistance we have? First, uncertainty avoidance. We are afraid, but that we don't know. We are afraid by uncertainty and by the risk we see behind uncertainty. We have habits, we are regularly thinking in a certain way, taking some decisions, etc., etc. So our behaviors are driven by habits. And when thinking about starting a new business, we have to change this way in thinking. So it's not really easy. Also, we can think about what will happen if I fail. Can I find again a job with my qualification, with a good level of salary, things like that, etc., etc. We can also, in certain countries, see barriers in starting a new business, and to a certain extent, the hostility of the environment. Lastly, I have to talk of the third phase, when individuals are fully committed in their process. They try to create the organization, the firm, and to start activities. It meant in the first time mainly survival, interesting clients, attracting clients, generating revenues, turnover, things like that. And what I know, talking with entrepreneurs, observing entrepreneurs, is that in most cases, they are doing things with resources and skills on hand. They don't try to acquire important resources based on business plans, based on ambitious objectives. They do things in the simplest way, I would say, based on their resources. Then they try, of course, to acquiring resources, but probably the most important resources in starting a new business is not necessarily finance, but information, good advice from good people, developing contacts, developing skills, know-how. Finance comes later, I would say. Also, it's a matter of creating, developing networks, and finally enacting a new organization. Entrepreneurship starting a new business is fundamentally an experimentation. We try, we do things, we learn from them, from what we do. Was it successful or did we fail, things like that. The notion of affordable loss is also important. It's quite different from risk. We can take risks. Should we take risk in starting a new business? I'm not sure. I'm convinced that individuals do things when they know the affordable loss that they are ready to lose in the process. Also, flexibility and serendipity are key words. Serendipity means we are finding something we are not looking for. Is it a chance? Is it something else? I don't know. I would say serendipity occurs when individuals are prepared to welcome it. Pre-commitments, alliances, partnership are really important in starting a new business because it very strongly help entrepreneurs. And also the combination of resources in order to solve problems and to make the new business in progress. And I would like to give my conclusion now. When they are engaged in a new venture creation process, novice or nascent entrepreneurs are dealing with novelty, change, uncertainty, contingency, we know that. I would say and would add they are incompetent, ignorant, and have approximative-based behaviors. So starting a business is a trial and error learning process. It's quite different from what we believe we know talking about or thinking about starting a new business. Entrepreneurs are much more in this experimental way, which helps them to learn a lot of things. And just now we have some concepts, some theories, some skills to provide them in order to get success in this difficult process, which is starting a new business. I would like to thank you for your attention and hope perhaps one day you will start your own business.